The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah, go Cowboys!
Let's go, baby.
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com
We were on a break.
with Nick Eatman, David Hellman, Ambar Garcia, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Monday, January 17th, 2022. Season 17, episode number 99. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios.
Can't get to 100, can we?
At the and I don't even want to laugh because it's just, actually I do kind of want to laugh just because it's just like, what else can you do at this point?
You can do the other one.
No, I don't.
Which I'm sure several people have done.
Maybe which our producer did right before we went on the air. Like, I think that was kind of what we're all feeling. Cowboys lose 23-17 to San Francisco. I can't say that it was a surprise. I think we were all very concerned about this matchup last week.
Yeah, I thought they'd win. I mean, we all picked the win.
We all picked
We
them.
did.
I think we all had some trepidation. I don't think any of us were like, oh, the Cowboys will roll through this team. I don't think.
But yeah, I thought they'd win. I mean, I thought they would win. I thought they'd play better, but
they just didn't.
They're not. I mean, I fell for it. I really did. I wrote this. We talked about it. I fell for it. I thought they were better. I did. I thought this season was different because it was. Season was different than what we've had, but not to the point where it was going to be a different ending. So, everything they've done all year long, they showed it in that game, and they were, they were a pretty good team. They've been pretty good this year.
Not all year long, though. Because I feel like at the beginning, and I was thinking that this morning as I was driving here, I'm like, man, how did I personally go from watching the game and feeling so pumped and confident that this is a year that they could get to the Super Bowl. The way that the offense was playing, they were making mistakes and all that, but they were overcoming it every single time. And then all of a sudden, it changed in the second half of the season. We talked about it on here. Oh, well, teams start looking at your schemes. They start preparing for you and all that. But it's like, it has to be more than that. There has to be something else as to how this team changed so much, like night and day, from what we had seen initially, from me thinking and coming on here and saying, well, we are going to the Super Bowl, asking for my ring and everything.
I don't think they changed. I
forgot about that.
I really don't think they changed. I don't.
You don't? You
No,
think they were the same team? It's just that they faced different opponents and that changed it?
As I was saying, they were a pretty good team this year, and pretty good will get you knocked out in the wild card round. That's what pretty good does.
See, I think you're right, but for different reasons. I think they didn't change. They didn't adapt. They did not respond to any of the challenges that came their way, whether that was their problems with officiating, whether that was their problems with teams figuring out how to beat them, which is to rush four and drop in zone. I mean, that problem arose on November 7th, and they looked just as helpless dealing with it on January, what was yesterday? 15th, whatever. 16th. Doesn't matter. Yeah, 16th. They looked just as helpless dealing with something that they saw all the way back in November. They looked just as terrible cleaning up their penalties as they did in October when that was an issue that they overcame, but they never adjusted to it. And maybe I'm just shooting from the hip in the wake of a frustrating loss, but it just strikes me as like an unearned type of arrogance. Like every week in the wake of all of this stuff, there was this confidence, maybe arrogance, seeing as how they didn't handle it, exuding from this team of line them up. We got it. I know what we have in this locker room. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to do the other. And it never really translated. They played some crappy teams and showed off their potential doing that. But from week 6 until yesterday, they never answered the bell against like the type of opponent that you need to beat to be a great team. Yep. And it's frustrating. I think I've said this a few times. It reminds me of 2019. You'll never convince me like that 2019 team belonged in the playoffs. I'm not saying that they were a Super Bowl team, but they were good enough to be in the playoffs. And they couldn't get there. Couldn't get out of their own way. I do think this team had the talent and the potential to be special, but they just didn't change. They did not take the steps necessary over the course of a season to be something more.
And the problem that we said from training camp and before that we were worried about continued to be a problem all year. The center and the left guard spot, they can't block They can't move the guys off the ball. And you're not going to change your quarterback because he's making more money than God right now. So that's what he's going to do. But you better get the guys up front to block for him. You have to sell out next year to protect him because Dak needs your help. He ran more than a cross-country runner yesterday, and he's not good enough to do that all the time. He needs help, and he didn't get it either.
So let me ask you guys this, and I know this happens all the time because especially for you guys that write, you find yourself years from now, you'll go back and you'll think about this playoff game and there'll be a certain thing in your mind, whether it's a memory of a specific play or just how they played in general. What will be that thought? Like years from now, how will you guys crystallize this particular game?
That's actually what I wrote about last night,
Yeah.
and I think it's ironic. I think because the way that it was talked about, it was the first 5 minutes of Mike McCarthy's press conference. It was the first 10 minutes of Dak Prescott's press conference. What I will probably remember is the final 14 seconds and really that whole sequence from the time Trent Williams got the false start to when the clock ran out. That's what you'll remember. Like, oh, the game where Dak couldn't get the spike off. But that's not. It should be remembered for them playing like crap for 50 minutes. And and we've seen that time and time again. And it rubbed me the wrong way. Even as bonkers as that whole thing was, I was like, why are we talking about this as if this is the reason why they lost? It's not. It's not. It's the fact that it took them 35 minutes to realize they were in a playoff game. That's why they lost. So that's probably what I'll remember is like, oh, yeah, that was the game with the weird spike situation, but really they got nobody to blame but themselves.
I mean, yeah, I'll probably say something snarky 5 years from now and be like, yeah, that was the game where they played in the playoff and they didn't get the playoff. That's
Like it.
It's a very Nick comment.
And not only once, but twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I got a problem with that play with the officials.
Yep.
I mean, because everyone's saying that they did it right. They even that arrogant referee that in the transcript that we read, he was like, "We did it right. We did it right. We did it right." I don't think so. I don't think he did it right, but we'll talk about it.
We'll get to that. Amber, well, how will you remember?
Because I've reffed a lot of games, so I know.
How will you remember that game, Amber?
I don't know, but right now, how I feel is that it's just here we are again, and so many times, like even in the second half, you keep thinking maybe Dak. My biggest thing is the quarterback right now. You keep thinking he's got it, or at least me. Every time, we see progress, beginning of the year, even last year before he got hurt, it's like, okay, he got it. He got it. But then you realize he doesn't. Or then there comes a time where you really need him, and then he plays like crap. And I think he's a special player and everything, but it's just like one of those moments again where in a game that you really needed him to step up, he did not. So this is how I'm coming off this year. It's like, I don't want to say did they make the right choice in signing him, giving him all that money and all that, but it is questionable. Is he the right guy to be the quarterback and lead this team, or do you have to really spend a ton of money in bringing up guys to build around him to help him out the whole way?
Yeah. I'll tell you this. Here's when I think back to this game, I was looking at all the different things that happened because there were lots of things that happened in this game you could point to be like, yeah, that was wrong, that was off, that was a problem. But really for me, what this game came down to is, check this out, 2:42 left in the fourth quarter. They had 3 timeouts. They were down by 6, and they have the ball. In that drive, Dak was 1 of 5 for 38 yards, had the nice reception, the nice completion to Dalton Schultz, but other than that, over. Like, didn't complete any other passes. They had 2 balls that you could say were dropped, CD and Zeke. They had an offensive line penalty that they got declined on the play where Zeke dropped the ball because San Francisco was like, well, you dropped the ball, so we'll just take that. We don't need to necessarily take the penalty. You had a sack, which Connor Williams gave up, talking about your guard and how ineffective they are. And then you had on the final play of that one a open receiver that because Dak is feeling pressure, because there's a blitz up the middle that either somebody didn't pick up or Dak couldn't make a guy miss to buy himself more time, he kind of just heaves the ball. They can't complete the pass, and they can't keep the drive going. to me, you look at all that stuff, that was the game right there. Don't give me all the stuff of what happened after that and ref did this, ref did that. At the end of the day, as bad as they played, 2:42 left in the game, they had every opportunity to then drive and win the game, and they were highly ineffective. Not just a few plays, they were highly ineffective on offense.
And I think, and if I don't know if you said this or not, but going into the game, the 49ers' two best defensive players we thought were Bosa and Warner, and neither one of them were on the field right there. So they had the ball with north of 2 minutes and all of their timeouts facing a six. I mean, that's what you want. That's what you dream about if you are a team capable of winning a playoff game. And I'm not going to absolve Dak. I thought that he had a terrible game. The decision on the interception was not good. His accuracy didn't seem awful to me yesterday. And again, it's going to sound like I am, and I swear I'm not. But their offensive line got embarrassed yesterday. To not have Nick Bosa in that game for half of the game, and you wouldn't know it. 5 sacks, pressured all the time, and maybe I'm making excuses for him. I don't know. I'm sorry, but when you can rush 4 and drop 7 down after down after down, and make Dak repeatedly try to squeeze balls into tight zones. They're playing zone all day. And he's running for his life while he's doing it. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for a lot of guys. And maybe Aaron Rodgers can overcome that. And that's why there's only one on the planet. So Dak didn't play well, but holy crap, his offensive line.
Smith.
That
the whole name. I get maybe Zach Martin. And I think the 49ers specifically schemed their front to basically say, all right, Zach will beat his guy and we'll just embarrass the rest of them. That's what it seemed like they were doing. Lyle had a rough day. Penalties, several pre-snap penalties. Connor Williams, it speaks for itself. I mean, I don't know. Yeah,
I'm doing the CD right now. I'm giving him the Bible.
I don't know how you justify that. And
I don't know how that makes sense.
Tyron Smith looked like a hobbled old player yesterday. Again, Bosa left basically at halftime, and other guys were getting home plenty.
I'm going to go back and watch it again because I watched it once last night, and I didn't see a lot of issues from Tyron. I got to watch it again, I guess, because I thought he played pretty well. I thought there was a couple of issues there.
He gave up a pretty shout out Longhorns. Charles Omenihu, who I knew.
The Texans were like, we're good.
Bye-bye. I know his name because I cover the draft, but like a journeyman 5th round pick, he had a sack and a half yesterday. Beat Tyron clean on one of them.
Yep.
Yeah,
and you're just not used to seeing that. It might be, and again, I don't want to give the impression that Tyron Smith is no longer a good player.
No,
that's not it.
That's not what I'm saying.
It's that I don't know that Tyron Smith is an elite player, and then you start questioning, okay, if he's not elite and he's not reliable from a health standpoint, then is it time to start looking at other options?
But here's the thing about that. You know what else isn't elite about him? His contract.
You got that up and down. You've got a couple guys like that.
No, but I'm saying if you think that just Tyron Smith is probably not a top 5 player anymore, and maybe he's just a top 10 or top 15, I think he's still on the cheap. I have to go look at it. But
by the way these contracts work, for sure.
He just hasn't.
But is the play what you need? If you're talking about the fact that you got problems at a lot of other spots as well, and maybe that's the reason why you couldn't do anything different, because you got a lot of other spots that are much more important that you fix than left tackle. But
we're getting into the weeds a little bit. We can go over all of that. We got a long time to talk about it.
Yeah, we do.
But it just, again, like Nick said earlier, and wrote about, every single thing that's bothered them leading up to this came home to roost, and it makes it frustrating because they didn't do anything to address it, really, or they didn't do enough,
except for one.
What's that?
The field goal and extra point.
Yeah, Zerline played great.
And I'm telling you this: if they would have scored a touchdown, he's going to hit the post. I don't know if it goes in or out, but it's not going to be right down the middle. Can you imagine how quiet that place would have been?
Yeah. No, it wouldn't have been because the other side.
The other side?
Yeah. Yeah, it would have been quiet. There was no
was
quiet
annoying.
yesterday. And then, by the way, it wasn't that they were overpowering, but they were enough that when they were cheering,
There
you could hear
were
them.
enough of them there.
There was
They had a
enough
good
of them.
crowd.
When the refs said the game was over, there was a sizable cheer.
And honestly, that I like that
Among other
atmosphere.
things.
I love
too.
that. I love that in a playoff atmosphere.
No, it was
where
great.
You've got a loud audience, a loud set of fans, and they're you got some on both sides. I would say, what did you guys say, 70-30 split? I would guess
Something like that.
So I think that felt right. That felt good for a playoff game.
And 30% good fans.
Yeah.
Passionate.
Yeah.
Passionate fans, of fan base. Obviously, if you're going to spend that money to get in, you are. And so anybody can be loud.
Yeah.
Anybody can, if you boo, you're going to hear that. So, I mean, they were there. Just like it would have been if the Cowboys would have played there, it would have been the same thing. I mean, that's what happens in the playoffs.
Playoffs, yeah. All right, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, I do want to dive into that end-of-game scenario, what you guys thought of it. We've heard from Nick. I want to hear what Amber and Dave
Oh, you haven't
thought of
heard
that.
yet.
Okay, well, let's talk about that when we come back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.
At AT&T, everyone, new and existing customers, get our best deals on every smartphone. Why? Because you deserve it. For turning your living room into your office and your gym. For teaching Grandma how to video call and teaching her again.
It's the button on your left, Nana. Okay, your other left.
It's not complicated. Everyone deserves something new. So AT&T is giving everyone, new and existing customers, our best deals with every unlimited plan on every smartphone, even the latest ones.
AT&T may temporarily slow data speeds if the network is busy. Restrictions and exceptions may apply.
Hi, I'm Clint Tillison with...
And I'm Jay Novacek, and we're both with...
United Ag and Turf, the official tractor provider of the Dallas Cowboys.
So, if you need a tractor to bale some hay, a mower to cut some grass, or a gator to get some chores done...
Get a John Deere at United Ag and Turf.
And then, let's get to work.
Hey, Jay, that's my line.
Well, not today.
Get to work with a John Deere tractor package that's just right for you and your budget. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com.
Before there was a draft, you could size up a cowboy by 3 simple factors: the crease in his hat, the bend of his brim, and his unbending attitude. A man Stetson didn't just protect him from what life threw at him, it projected a rugged, unstoppable spirit. Stetson hats are still American-made with pride right here in Texas. They're still the unofficial crown of all self-respecting cowboys, and Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find a retailer nearest you at stetson.com/cowboys.
New Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. You deserve it.
I do deserve that.
You deserve decadent flavor without sugar, and a day at the beach without sand getting everywhere. And a relaxing bath that your children don't interrupt.
I deserve all that?
It's really just a visual metaphor for Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. Everything you want, nothing you don't.
A visual metaphor on the radio. I do deserve that.
Dr. Pepper Zero Sugar. The zero you deserve is finally here.
Back to the break.
Welcome back. It is the second segment of the show, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. We're talking about the Cowboys lost 23-17. They have been booted from the playoffs. San Francisco goes on. They will be playing, I guess at this point, they're playing the Packers.
Yep.
Wow.
It'll be a great game.
It will be. It will be. It'll be. Honestly, and I heard this before the game, and I think it's true. We talked about all week how bad of a matchup it was for Dallas, how tough of a matchup, I should say, it was for Dallas. It's really a tough matchup for almost anybody that's left in the playoffs just because they do what they do so well, and it's so different than what everybody else does. So it's going to be a tough matchup for Green Bay as well. Difference is Green Bay's got that dude. He's got that dude at quarterback that can kind of right-size all that kind of stuff. All right, let's talk about, though, the end of the game. We talked about it a little bit in the first segment. Basically, they decide that they're going to, with very little time, they opt to allow Dak to basically run the ball right up the middle of the field, and the hope was he would get down in time to be able to then respot the ball, spike it, and give them one more shot, roughly 25 to 30 yards in order to win the game, which sounds like probably a more, well, I'll let you guys answer that. Was that the right decision, or should they have opted for take a shot at the end zone, or maybe 2 shots at the end zone from back at the 50 and see what you can come up with?
Here's the thing. I like that they thought outside the box. Like, your odds of completing, they were at the 41. They were at the San Francisco 41. So odds of completing a 41-yard pass to the end zone in the NFL is not good. So you got to find a way to get up there a little bit. And in a vacuum, it's a smart idea. It's like nobody's expecting this. Nobody's going to be covering the draw because you got to be a crazy person to do it.
Yeah.
And you theoretically, like 14 seconds is the traditional threshold of like you have enough time to get down, get everything together, spike it. I like the thought process in a vacuum. Here's the thing. Football games aren't played in a vacuum. And they said this after the game. They rep it time and time again, and it works. But here's the thing. You're on your own practice field, in your own environment. Everybody knows exactly what you're trying to do. Our dear friend Dylan Keene, the equipment manager, plays referee. He knows exactly what they're doing. He's going to sprint in with the ball, put it where it needs to be. That's not going to happen in a game. Mm-hmm. Maybe the ref doesn't know what you're going to do. The ref is maybe out of shape or winds up 20 yards behind the play. Should he be? No. Is it something that you have to kind of count on maybe going wrong? Absolutely. The 49ers player is probably going to lay on you and like forget how to get up and maybe swat at the football. That stuff's going to happen. That's what they're trained to do. And so I like the idea. The thought that it was ever going to work in a live game perfectly was probably far-fetched. Mm-hmm. And so I think you would have been better off maybe running an out for 12 yards. The Jason Witten special, they ran it with Dalton Schultz earlier. I think that's more likely to get you there than that. Like I said, I understand the thought process, but I just don't think it was realistic that it was ever going to work.
Everything was just very sloppy. It's like nobody was on the same page. It's like this is your first time playing football and you're still trying, like, this is like mistakes that you do in the practice field when you're trying to figure out, okay, what are we coming up with this week? But the way that they went out there, and let me say this, I said this to several people yesterday, and people, I always talk about demeanors and vibes and all that, and it's dumb or whatever, but I said it to several people. When I got there and I was watching the sidelines, both teams, the Cowboys were just standing there, which is fine or whatever, and then I look at the 49ers, and I can't remember what players those two were because they were from the side, so I couldn't see the numbers, and they were far. But they're hitting each other like this to the point where I'm thinking, are they fighting in my head? And then I keep watching and they're just pushing each other really, really hard and just going at it. And then they hug at the end or whatever. So it was like hyping each other up. And like right at the beginning of the game, like pre-game, I could see just the energy on both sides. And I know I always talk about this, but I made my point of sending it to several people. I'm like, this is not looking to be great because of how they're coming into the game. Anyway, point is, I feel like they didn't come in prepared. And they didn't have what they needed to do. And it was just too late at the end of the game. And what they did, even, what was that one where they handed the pass to Cedric, and then he threw it to get it to
the hook and ladder, yeah.
Yeah, to Tony Pollard, was it right?
Well, they botched that one. Cedric,
It wasn't good. But my point is, like, little things like that, when you watch it, it's just like they were lost. Like, it's not like everybody is in sync or this was planned or they knew what they were going to do. And I know they play and they practice all these plays, but I don't know, just the whole thing from beginning to end. And at the end with the ref, what was the problem with adding like a few more, like an extra second and going back and like saying, reviewing this play and like, I know you're going to talk about it, Nick, what happened there with the ref at the end, but I don't get what the big deal is in adding an extra second and saying, you know what, we kind of messed up. Let's just let you guys go even though it's not going to work out for you guys at the end.
Because they don't think that they did mess up because what the official said was, as we spotted the ball correctly, the Cowboys are supposed to hand the ball to the official apparently, and Biotis tried to spot the ball and whatever. But my issue though is just that the back judge was he was at Six Flags when that play started, when that play ended. I mean, he was at the 50-yard line and he stayed at the 50 when Dak got down. He had to run and sprint. He should have already been doing that. And once Dak took off, it's his job to get the ball. He should have been running. He was out of position. So yeah, he spotted the ball, but it took way too long for him to get there. I mean, he's not 25 years old. I mean, he as a ref, and your job is to be athletic and get up there, then you better get up there quicker. And he wasn't. So, I mean, they're not going to probably make the Hail or the play or whatever. I mean, that's not why they lost. But I think for the NFL to say that our guys did it properly, I don't think that's correct. I mean, you got you got 7 refs there or 8 refs. You got 1,000 refs on the sideline. You got New York sitting up there. I mean, I'll say this: they didn't win anything with New York this year. It was either New York called down and changed their call on them, or they didn't call, or whatever. I mean, they gotta figure that out about when do we go to New York and when do we not. You know, it seems a little weird, but I just thought the ref was out of position. I mean, for sure, that's not why they lost, but he was out of position to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that and I'll ask you guys this question: was that a situation where you think they didn't understand they needed to get the ball to the ref? Because you see this all the time in the NFL where I know I get that, but I'm saying like
Dylan's
we see it all the
there.
time. We see it all the time in the NFL where at the end of the game, guys go down and they immediately look for the ref to try to get the ball to them because they know he's the one that has to spot it. So they try to help him along. Like you're right. Yeah. Like he should have been up there, but a lot of times he's not. So the player will get the ball to the ref so that the ref can, at least you make it a little bit faster because you're helping him. Do you think this was a situation where the Cowboys erred in not doing that, in not looking to identify who the ref is, get the ball to him, so it makes it move a little faster?
Yeah, I mean that's probably part of it. But again, it goes back to he's not there, so you're just in panic mode or whatever. To go back to what Dave said on the play, and I actually was standing down there, and I said to the guy next to me, I would have thrown Pollard's in the slot. I said I'd go right over the middle of the field here and go down and spike it. That's a lot quicker. Pollard's faster. He's right there. You throw it to him. He gets 10, 15 yards, and then everyone's moving. Your quarterback doesn't have to go back and then forward. I like the middle of the field. I just would have done it with Pollard. It's wide open.
Yeah.
But
it's a good call. Yeah. I mean, I have to go back and look at the coverage they were playing, but it's obvious they left the middle of the field wide open on purpose. You can take advantage of it, but that is a slow developing play. I don't want to be a douche. I'm getting aggravated all over again because we're spending a significant chunk of the show.
Yeah, you're right.
And there's so many other reasons why they lost this game. I mean, they got pretty thoroughly outplayed and outcoached in almost every facet.
I mean, the slow starts are ridiculous. And, I mean, at this point, we'll talk about the offensive coordinator and all that, but, he's going to be a head coach? Seriously, I don't see it. I haven't seen it all year. I don't see it, and I don't know how you would see that. His teams aren't prepared in the first half, in the first quarter of games. I mean, they haven't been that good. Now, they make some adjustments, but, they rally back, but I mean, they shouldn't be down so much. And I think it all comes down to preparation. So,
and I'll throw this out, too, and I think this is where I want to go next, is the penalties. This is a game where, once again, penalties killed them. And I heard somebody say it like this morning. I think it was on Sean and RJ here at 105.3 The Fan. They're like, the first time you get cheated on, you look at the other person, you're like, man, that was really messed up. By the fourth time, you got to start looking in the mirror and being like, why am I in this situation? Maybe I am allowing this to happen. Maybe there's something more I need to be doing so I'm not in this situation. And it's a similar situation here with refs. I'm kind of tired of this team talking about after games, talking about the refs.
I'm sick
and the refs
of it.
did this and that and the other.
I don't
it's one thing, one game. It's been multiple games. Figure it out.
It is it's petulant. They sound like whiny kids. And from the coach on down, honestly.
Yeah.
It's gross. I mean, they were flagged 14 times yesterday. I challenge you to go find more than 2 or 3 that weren't just outright flags. I thought Connor got flagged for a holding early where, the guy did go to the ground, but it looked like he kind of lost his footing. And
Randy Gregory won. I think.
Sure.
I think that he was moving his foot. The tackle was moving his foot.
Yeah, Trent Williams got away with some stuff, but
Randy Gregory had the worst penalty. Maybe one of
the defensive holding on Randy. Don't come at me. Yeah. Don't come at me like most of these weren't earned.
Right.
The
play was by you. That was just dumb.
And that's
it almost thought like he thought he had the ball.
Yeah.
Like he was tackling him.
Yeah.
Micah's there. Micah's got this thing. Yeah. It's going to be 3rd and 9 with a minute and a half to go. You call your second timeout. You're going to get the ball back with about 1:25. Instead, you got it with 32 seconds.
But do you think this is all a reflection of the fact that, number one, the coach says he wants the team to play on the edge, which means he's okay with a lot of these penalties, especially the penalties that are kind of between the whistle. He was more concerned about the pre-snap ones, but that particular penalty to me is about playing, trying to play at the edge. Guy kind of got you, so you just kind of pull him down. Whereas if the coaches may be coaching, look, we're not going to be stupid. We're not going to make dumb penalties. That's not about playing on the edge. That's about being smart about the time of the game and what's happening in the game.
To what Dave said earlier, arrogant. I think that that's what it goes back to, because at the beginning of the year, you saw them making these mistakes, penalties, but it was working out. Okay, you come out with the win and you can take it, whatever. But then you see how now it's affecting you, and they had plenty of time to be working on this, because this, like you guys have been saying, this is nothing new. It's been happening week after week, and then we somehow end up talking about the refs or whatever. But I think that going back to that, I now do start seeing this team as maybe they were pretty arrogant throughout the season, and it bit them in the butt. At the end of the game, at the end of the year, it bit them in the butt, because that's the only reason, the only way that you do not work on it. I mean, let me not say work on it, because maybe they have been working on it and trying to improve of that. But for you to constantly be making the same mistakes and not see any kind of improvement week after week, that's you thinking that you got the better team, and at the end of the day, you're going to come out with the win regardless.
My lasting impression right now of this team is like this air of defiance coming out of these losses, where it's like, well, not our fault.
It ain't us, yeah.
It ain't us. Vegas Cardinals last night. We haven't even talked about Dak's comments about the referees.
Go there.
It's a terrible look. It's not a good look.
That was bad.
It's not a good look for your franchise quarterback to say that.
That was a costly game of what they had a chance to do. It's going to be costly for him to say that.
It's very unlike him.
It's incredibly unlike him.
Fans that didn't hear what happened.
After the game, obviously, you saw the people throwing stuff onto the field, and they was asked about it. He gave a very Dak answer on it was disgusting. These players fight so hard. Why would throw stuff at him? And then it was brought to his attention. It was like, well, actually, I think they were throwing at the refs. And he said, well, credit to them. Then he got a chance to come back.
He was given an opportunity to clarify, and he was like, "Yeah, that's
what I meant.
That's what
I said. What I said.
I say what I say. Yeah."
And that's.
I get it. I get that he's frustrated. He talked about how this is going to stay with him for a long time. I'm sure it will. But
let me also say this too. We do this every day. We sit here in front of the mics. We say things. We've said things that we regret. You get in the moment.
You finish off the show and you're like, "Why did
I shouldn't have said that?" It happens all the time.
Yeah.
And Dak shouldn't have said that. There's no doubt about it. I got a problem with the people that didn't say anything. That's my issue.
Who are you talking about?
I'm talking about the guys that don't step up to the mic and talk. Nobody wants to. You think Dak wants to do that? You think Zeke wants to do that? Zeke's the best one that we've had in many years as far as this is my job. I talk to the media.
Game over, no matter what.
I'm going to be there. If I had 24 yards rushing and 2 fumbles or whatever, this is what I'm going to do. And I stand down there, and I got Heisman more than anybody. Last night, Chris and I did down there, and it's ridiculous. It really was. And yes, Dak, you shouldn't have said that, but I also think that there's not enough credit that gets taken to the guys that do face the music, stand up there and have the answers, and you have veterans that have had great seasons, Pro Bowl seasons, Pro Bowl players that said, I don't feel like talking. Or I choose not
fix this, bitch.
He was there last night, I think.
I think he was. He was tweeting about it. I would guess he was.
That's an appropriate drop there, Chris. It really is.
That's these. It's funny, though. I mean, I agree with everything you just said, but I think I'm big enough to admit I would tell everybody to F off if I were one of those guys after a game like that. I'd be like, I can't get in front of a microphone right now. It's not going to be good for anybody. But I admire the guys that do it. I mean, they're paid handsomely to do it, but that's got to be tough. There's no doubt.
I mean, it's part of the job. It's a part of the job for a lot of them. I'm not going to say for everybody, because everybody is not a part of their job necessarily. I think for the leaders, it is a part of their job, because that's what leadership is. If you're going to talk about how great a leader they are, that's part of being a leader.
Right.
There's a lot of disappointing stuff we can go over. We haven't scratched the surface. Like,
there's so much.
The Cowboys play calling,
tomorrow,
the way like the 49ers, the way they scheme things up for their guys, getting Diggs to bite on multiple double moves.
Mm-hmm.
Like if Jimmy G's a more accurate quarterback, they end the game by burning Trayvon Diggs, basically.
Yep.
I mean, they're a smart coaching staff. Well-coached team.
Well-coached team.
But to go back to what I was going to say, like, not only did he play great, but Micah Parsons once again comes out and, like, is like the mature, like, we didn't do enough of this, like, just very, like, down to business. We got to clean this stuff up. It's not good enough. Yeah, if there's a bright spot from this game other than Zerline not missing anything, it's probably that.
Honestly, if there's a bright...
Layden played the game of his season.
If there is a bright spot
Eksch.
from this season, I think it is Micah Parsons. And what I had somebody tell me last night, man, when he becomes the leader of this team, look out. I was like, he's already the leader of this defense for sure. Yeah, sure. There's no doubt in my mind he's the leader of this defense.
I felt so smart. But like he blitzed and he did some edge stuff, but like they used him against the running game, and the 49ers ran for 145, but like they did enough. This reminded me a lot of the Cardinals game. Like the defense, they held them to 23 points. And this is a Dan Quinn trend at this point. Like, the 49ers script worked to perfection. They got exactly what they wanted. They go down and get 7. Defense kind of cracks its neck, and they were good the rest of the way. Their only other touchdown came on a short field because of Dak. They got a takeaway that set the offense up to get back into the game. Not the best game of their season at all, but they played well enough to win. And Michael was right there in the run defense. I mean, I think San Francisco couldn't have had more than like 2 explosive runs. I mean, a lot of that was gritty, tough running.
No sacks though. That was tough.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. But the other thing I'll mention on that, Dave, too, though, that I think you have to take a few points off the defense is there were a number of times yesterday where they had opportunities to make tackles, and the guy got another 4 or 5 yards. That was a problem.
That's
yesterday.
what they're good at.
That was a problem.
I mean,
and it is. It's that was what we were talking about all week when we said the brand of football that San Francisco plays is a tough, gritty, running style, and that's what they live on. Is you think you got us, we'll get another 4 yards.
And that, like, it's 7-0, and it's 3rd and 21 at like midfield, and they throw a little pass to the fullback, and you know he stopped at the 40-yard line, and he spins and gets to like the 35. And
the fullback,
well, because I can't say his name, Juszczyk, whatever. I don't think he's going to kick a 58-yard field goal with him, but he's going to kick a 53, and you know that 5 yards. Because you know every defensive player is so excited to put their hand up and be like 4th down. I'm like, well, you just lost 3 points.
Yeah.
Because you didn't get them when you're supposed to. You know, great, it's 4th down. It's still going to be 3 points as opposed to them punting. So, and then I know you can't play the game that way, but I mean, just think what 3 less points does when you're trying to drive and you're down by 3. You're at the 40-yard line. You're already in field goal range.
Yep.
So, you know, those things add up.
You're not saying anything that's incorrect, but 23 points. 23 points should win you a home game.
Yeah.
The offense had 11 possessions. 8 of them ended without points. Either a turnover, the end of the game, or a punt.
Again, nothing we haven't seen this season.
307 yards of offense. And again, we talked about it a lot. It's like, can the offensive line give Dak time to stand in there and throw? And the answer was no.
I mean, that's the only thing you can fix now. You can't. You're not going to change your quarterback. You got to fix that. You have to fix.
Well, I'm going to throw one at you when we come back from a break that I think is something that can be fixed. That I'm not sure the Cowboys have what it takes to actually go down this route, but I think it's something they should. We'll talk about that when we come right back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio. There we go.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now, you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
At AT&T, everyone, new and existing customers, get our best deals on every smartphone. Why? Because you deserve it. For turning your living room into your office and your gym. For teaching grandma how to video call. And teaching her again.
It's the button on your left, Nana. Okay, your other left.
It's not complicated. Everyone deserves something new. So AT&T is giving everyone, new and existing customers, our best deals with every unlimited plan on every smartphone, even the latest ones.
AT&T may temporarily slow data speeds if the network is busy. Restrictions and exceptions may apply.
Hi, I'm Clint Tillison with...
And I'm Jay Novacek, and we're both with...
United Ag and Turf, the official tractor provider of the Dallas Cowboys.
So, if you need a tractor to bale some hay, a mower to cut some grass, or a gator to get some chores done...
Get a John Deere at United Ag and Turf.
And then, let's get to work.
Hey, Jay, that's my line.
Well, not today.
Get to work with a John Deere tractor package that's just right for you and your budget. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com.
Before there was a draft, you could size up a cowboy by 3 simple factors: the crease in his hat, the bend of his brim, and his unbending attitude. A man Stetson didn't just protect him from what life threw at him, it projected a rugged, unstoppable spirit. Stetson hats are still American-made with pride right here in Texas. They're still the unofficial crown of all self-respecting cowboys, and Stetson is proud to be on the field with America's team. Find a retailer nearest you at stetson.com/cowboys.
Back to the break.
Well, the games are over at AT&T Stadium, but the fun is not. WrestleMania will be here April 2nd, April 3rd, 2022. Get your tickets for the most stupendous two-night WrestleMania in history. Visit SeatGeek.com.
Welcome back. Final segment of the break, live from SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. We are, just so you guys know, we're going to have our normally scheduled show tomorrow as well. And then we'll start flipping into our off-season mode on Wednesday and Thursday. And then next week we'll be fully into our off-season mode.
Right guard, Kentucky, good push, good. Yeah.
Hey, well, actually, speaking of which,
I mean, when's the draft?
Speaking of which, I talked to Kavanaugh and I talked to Broadus this morning.
Oh, Broadus is probably ready.
They're both ready. Look, I was like, "Your draft show, anyone?" And they're both like, "Yep, we're in. We're ready to go. Let's go." So I think we're gonna try to start pushing this thing either later this week or at the latest next week.
Can we do next week?
I don't want to do it this week.
You need a break.
I love the draft show. I enjoy doing it. Literally on the drive in this morning, I was just like, Derek's
gonna ask me.
I was like, Derek's gonna tell me we're going on Thursday, and I'm gonna cry. I'm just gonna.
All right.
Because
for you, Dave, we're gonna wait till next week.
Just give me some time to digest what just happened and maybe start looking. Last year they were out of the playoffs for all intents and purposes before Christmas.
Right.
I don't know anything about this draft class.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's.
We'll wait till next week for you, Dave.
Thank you.
And we'll just kind of, but just so the fans know, next week, all right, we're gonna hit the ground running.
I will be excited. I will be excited next week or even later this week, but right now I'm just like, oh my god,
you just went through a heartbreak. You can't just jump into another relationship that quick.
Thank you, Amber.
Dave and I
were
sitting up there in the press box last night, and he said something that I didn't think of right off the bat, but he was like, this fan base this year, I mean, it's going to be tough. This offseason is going to be tough.
God bless you if you're listening right now.
Well, you're listening now. But are you going to listen in March? Are you going to listen, like...
These folks are.
Like, even, like, what if the Cowboys, not to mention, first place schedule, I used to think that was kind of not a big deal. But when you add another game, you're adding another first place team.
Yeah.
You face, I think you face four.
They got Rodgers, they got Brady, they got Joey B.
You don't know if they got Rodgers.
Well... Maybe. They have the team that currently employs Rodgers. Point being, there's some really, really good teams on the schedule next year.
It's going to be tough. It'll be tough as it is
Tampa.
every year. The NFL's tough.
But my point to that is you get to 4-0, 5-0.
Doesn't matter.
They're going to be like, okay,
doesn't matter.
Listen,
again,
it goes back. It kind of goes back to the arrogance thing. And Nick, maybe you're right. Maybe they were just pretty good, not great. But 12 wins is the reasonable expectation. That's the best most fans are ever going to hope for. You don't go into a season. Excuse me.
Yeah, you're right. You
don't go into a season 14-3 or 15-2. I'm still getting used to the new records, but nobody goes into a season expecting to lose 2 or fewer games. 12 wins is the reasonable expectation.
Year. Yeah.
And this team, at times this year, looked like a pretty special team, and it just didn't translate. And if you care about this team, even if you're the biggest diehard, I don't blame you at all if you need to see more.
Yeah.
You're like, I ain't getting excited about a win in October. Why should I?
Yep.
I don't blame you at all.
That's
what
the hard
upsets
part.
me the most is that we get to this point and you always think, okay, we're only a few pieces away. That's what it always feels like as Opposed to last year, I was like, okay, fire everybody last year on the defense. Yeah. But it always feels like that. But then you got to go through the whole thing of like, you're never going to have the same team. And just like you might get some other better player at a certain position, you're going to lose players that have been doing a good job. So it's just, man, I don't know how you do the draft. Don't care about it.
The draft is great, though, because the draft, like, and I think that's why, I've already gotten a lot of tweets about, like, when does the draft show start? Because it might be unhealthy. It's definitely unhealthy. But, like, hope springs eternal.
Yeah,
like,
it renews you. Yeah.
Well, and then you have free agency, too, that you got to deal with.
Yeah, it does have a way of renewing you, yeah.
I will, like, not to be a downer, though, and you never know what you can find in the draft, like, shoot, Justin Jefferson was the third receiver taken in his class, and he's all of a sudden looking like far and away. Not all of a sudden, he's far and away the best receiver. Like, we talked so much, it was like, can't believe the league let CD fall to 17. Now I'm more like, I can't believe the league let Justin Jefferson fall to 22 or wherever he was taken. The point I was going to make is just like, they're not going to be significantly better next year than what they were right now, unless a minor miracle happens. Like they've got a lot of tough decisions in front of them in free agency, not a lot of money to spend, and you could always stumble into an amazing draft pick. But I think they're picking 24th. Odds that you're finding a difference maker at 24, and then whatever pick is after that, they're not good. So this is what you got, and you got to find a way to get better results with it.
And we talked about the 12 wins. About being a pretty good team. I mean, this is another thing we mentioned. Of those 12 wins, I mean, nobody's still playing. No, I mean, you won 3 playoff games. You won 3 games against playoff teams. The Eagles showed that they didn't belong, and the Patriots didn't show they put up no fight. Yeah, and the thing about it is what do those two teams have in common? They have young quarterbacks that really aren't that ready to play. Yeah, and it comes down to quarterbacks. I mean, and Dak, we thought, MVP at one point.
He should be in his prime at this point.
We thought comeback player of the year. He's not going to win that. Yeah. Because I don't think they voted yet. They don't vote yet.
I don't know.
And they're going to vote. They're going to vote Burrow because he's already won a game. Burrow's won as many playoff games as Dak. That'll be said, and it's true.
At how many years? I know there are quarterbacks that come in and they played really well right off the bat. I mean, Dak did it himself his first year, but at how many years into a quarterback's life do they get that turning point where it's like, okay, this guy could be elite or could be really good? Is there usually like maybe a certain amount of years that it takes a quarterback to start becoming that?
There's no definitive timeline. When do you start playing? Like, are you a day one starter as a rookie like Dak? Do you sit on the bench for 4 years like Rodgers or Romo? Are you on a good team earlier in your career? I mean, Brady got carried by amazing defenses for the first few years. There's no formula. But by year 6, with as much starting experience as you have, I'm not going to say you're a finished product, but that's where these results should start coming in.
Yeah, that's where I was going to ask you guys. Do you think it's fair for fans who look at Dak now and say, he's been starting since he was a rookie, he's past that first contract, he should be in his prime, and if he is in his prime, this is the best of what you're going to see from Dak Prescott.
Yeah, and I remember writing this article in 2008, and Romo came up to me and was upset about it, and he said, "Yeah, I heard you called me Matt Hasselbeck," and I said, "That's not what I said. Did you read the article?" He goes, "No, someone told me about it." I was like, "Well, that's your first mistake. Please read the article and then come back," because what I wrote is that everybody in the league, there's only a couple of Drew Brees and Brady's and Mannings or whatever. Seattle's got Matt Hasselbeck, and that they're committed to him, and that's who they've got. And so you have to, the way the quarterback market works, you have to pay your guy, but it may not be as good as you want it to be. But that's your guy. You're pot committed with him. So I said, Seattle's got this. You got that. The Cowboys have Romo. This is who you have. I didn't compare him to that. I'm basically saying he's better than that. You could be this guy. That's where the Cowboys are. And you said it. I don't know if you want to go that route, but you said it, and you're right.
Actually, I know what you're talking about. And I said it last night, actually, when I was talking to some of my family members who had come to the game. And it literally took my sister off her feet. She had to sit down like, oh, God, please tell me no. That's not the case. But I was like, tell me the difference. Like, do the Cowboys have a Kirk Cousins? Like, do they have a guy who is like you were in a situation where you needed to pay him because there weren't a lot of other guys that were better. You didn't have a lot of options, but what you've seen as far as results aren't quite there yet. Like,
stats. You got stats.
Yeah, he got some stats, but as far as getting your team to that next level, like, he hasn't shown you yet that he can do that. And again, I am not. It's the same thing as what you're saying, Nick. I think Dak is way better than Kirk Cousins at his best. The results, though, right now are saying they're about the same. It's hard to argue that the results are different.
Right. That's what I was about to say. I have a lot of confidence that Dak is a better quarterback than that. I don't even know how to articulate it. But I still think he's one of the best in the league when everything is working the way it's supposed to.
Right.
But the fun thing is, nuance goes out the window when you sign a $160 million contract. And I'm not going to bother arguing because the results are what they are. Like, I'm not just going to sit here and pound the table after you put up a 69 passer rating in a playoff game. Mm-hmm. Like, it is what it is. And yeah, you had no time to throw. Your offensive line got mauled. Sorry.
There were also some opportunities, though, that he had.
Sure.
That he did.
Again, he played like crap. I think he's a better player than that. Sitting here right now, I do not think quarterback is a problem for the Dallas Cowboys. Mm-hmm. But I'm not going to argue with the people that think that it is, because if you don't like it, don't sign the $40 million contract. Like, that's the nature of this business. And I think Dak he's just going to have to eat that and hopefully let it fuel him.
Right.
I think he's going to be pissed off until he has a chance to get out there and show something better. But until then, what are you supposed to say?
Yeah, I will say this. I do think that a lot of what we saw in the second half of the year from Dak Prescott was a result of an offensive line that just is not good enough. And if there's one thing that this team has to do this offseason, they have to figure out how to start the process of remaking their offensive line. That's going to be extremely difficult for the reasons that Dave was just talking about. Don't have a lot of money. You're going to be picking late in the draft. It's going to be difficult. But they got to start that process now. They got to start figuring out how they can start remaking this offensive line, because this offensive line is highly unreliable, and they're just not good enough.
What did they do with Romo to bring it full circle? They waited way too long to do that.
Yep.
Like, they waited until he was closer to the end of his career. Yeah. And I don't think Dak's at that point. But yeah, you can't let that thing slip. Maybe it's a knock on him. There are some quarterbacks in the league that can make it work with less, but I don't think he's one of them.
They're too light on offensive line. I mean, I went back. I was watching a game 2009 or 10. They played. I watched that offensive line, and Leonard Davis at right guard, and Flozell Adams and Mark Colombo, and Kyle Kozer is not the biggest guy, but the center was Andre Gerard.
Yeah, they had a big offensive line.
They had a big offensive line, and I get that football's changed a little bit, but the 49ers had a big line, and they have a veteran line. I mean, I think this whole underside. I mean, how many screens are we really running here? How many screens these guys are pulling? What I'm saying is,
get the screen pages out of the playbook anyway.
But their athleticism, how much does that factor in? I like having good athletes on the line. I mean, good. They all got it to the line, and we got to get the ball spiked. I'm sure everybody would have done that. Lyle and Tyron got there. But I'm just saying, athleticism for the offensive line, for the most part, I want a guy that's mean and nasty and big and can push you back. And they don't have that. Connor Williams is athletic. Good for him. He's going to go to free agency, and his agent's going to sell that. But he's not. His technique isn't great, and he doesn't push people back. He's probably a tackle. That's where he should have been playing all along.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a final impression to leave.
I will say real quick, though, I do think before we end the show.
What did Leighton leave?
A good one. Thought Leighton played one of his better games of the season, in all honesty.
Sorry. I said this off the air. I think he did play well, but he needs to go to a team that's going to face the 49ers a lot. And that style.
Yeah, that style suited him.
Because when they're going to run like that, he did have a nice game. He had a great play that could have changed the game when he stopped Debo at 4th and 1 or 3rd and whatever. He stopped him 1 yard short. It was a huge play in the game. But
yeah, you're right. I mean, because you're not asking him to do as much in coverage.
But if you're asking him in coverage a lot, that's not his thing.
That's his liability.
So I don't know if he comes back or not. I don't know who your coordinator is going to be.
There's
We
so
might-
much. We're gonna get into a lot of that tomorrow with regards to the coaches.
We might need to do more shows than you would anticipate. I just feel like there's a lot of moving parts. Like we're not going into the off season like, well, this is what we've got, and these are the guys that'll be here. Like we could be dealing with some drastic changes over the next week or so.
And there certainly are reports out there that are swirling, which happens when you lose in the playoffs first round. There are going to be those kinds of reports, but we'll get into some of that stuff tomorrow.
The thing is, I
there's
thought we have a lot of answers. Like we can sit and talk about it, but it's like, okay, well, what's the answer then? You know?
Yeah, good
A lot
point.
of questions that we won't find out until, well, you never know. You never know how quickly things can start moving around here too.
Well, the good thing is we got something to talk about. So
I mean, like you gotta get, and y'all know better than me. You've got to get to the NFC title game.
No, what is that?
Exactly. You got to get there
at some point, Nick,
for me to believe that it's going to happen. So, like, even at the highest of high of this season, I don't think I legitimately believed that they could reach that level just because they haven't done it. I definitely thought that they were a divisional round team. Like this was a team that I thought was good enough to get where the other ones have gone, and they weren't even that good. They weren't even good enough to go 1-1 in the postseason. Like they 0-1 with some of the highs we saw from this team. 0-1 is just a. Dak said it himself. I'm not even calling him out. Dak said it himself. They underachieved this year.
Yeah,
they did.
I don't think there's anybody that can question that. They did. All right, real quick before we end the show, I do want to say to all you guys that are out there listening, and Nick mentioned you guys, but I want to mention you because it means a lot to us that you guys through an entire season, and really this starts in the off season, it goes into training camp when we start gearing up and talking about this team every day, and then you guys take this ride with us every season, and through the ups and the downs, you laugh with us, you probably cry with us a little bit, but you're definitely there with us, and we appreciate you guys taking your time every day. Come and sit in on our shows and listen to what we have to say. I ran into a guy yesterday at the stadium, just randomly like, "Oh, you're Derek," and I was like, "Yeah," and we talked for a bit, and it was just that does me good because I know that people out there listening, they're willing to take this ride with us. We appreciate, and we don't want you to ever take that for granted. We appreciate you taking this ride with us every season. And we can't promise the results. What we can promise you is that we're going to get on here every day when we're supposed to get on here, and we're going to talk about it, and we're going to hopefully entertain you while we keep you informed about this team. And that's what we try to do, and so we appreciate you doing it with us.
I think the whole night last night, I love being like the conduit for information for people that care about this team. Like it's your hobby, it's your passion, it's your life, and it's awesome that I get to help you do that. And like the whole last night in the press box, I was just like, how do we sell this to him, Nick? Like how do we it's like you're disappointed parents or something. You're like, how do I explain that I wrecked the car? Right. Like, how do I explain that they lost again? I don't know how to do it.
I mean, and I said it before. They were. I mean, I feel like the late Denny Green said it, even though he's like they are who they thought we were, you know. But I didn't think they were this way. Mm-hmm. I didn't see it. I wanted to see it differently, and I didn't. And I feel like, in a way, I feel like Broadus here by saying this. I kind of like failed the fans because I kept saying,
yes.
I kept saying, hey, no, they're going to win. And I said, they're going to beat the 49ers. 49ers could have been 9-8, but I didn't see it. And I didn't want to see it. That's the thing. I didn't want to see it. But they showed us who they were all year
and
long.
They kept showing us. We just refused to believe it.
I refused to believe it. And
believe
I do apologize for that.
Times.
Yeah.
That's it.
I'm
No.
trying to give myself credit.
Yeah,
but
it kind of sounds like you are.
I got so much crap from people saying, you're a downer, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, I get on here and I talk about what I feel like I see on the field. So I'm just saying, there were times where I was taking myself to the Super Bowl, but there were times where I'm like, this ain't it. So
and you've had both this season, right?
You've
been on both ends.
It's so true though. Like I mean, on Friday, I don't remember exactly what I said, but like, I didn't want to pick them. I didn't want to, but I was just like, I don't want to be the guy that didn't hop on board if they do catch fire. Like if they do play up to their potential, I don't want to be the guy that thought they couldn't do it. And our first instinct turned out to be the right one, unfortunately.
But enjoy the ride, yeah.
Hey,
it was so fun.
You have to.
But you know,
But
honestly, I still, as much as I hated it last night, and I woke up this morning feeling awful because I always do when this moment comes. The fact is, I still had some very enjoyable moments this season watching this team play. And so it was a joy to every Sunday watch Michael Parsons play football. Like, I got some pleasure out of watching. So, yes, you have to enjoy the ride. That's a part of being a fan as well. And it's extremely disappointing. I was telling you before we went on the air, like, I got it both ways. My college team and my pro team both, like, they just disappoint me. That's what they do. They try to disappoint me. They look for opportunities to disappoint me. But if you don't enjoy the ride, then what's the point of being a fan?
Right.
It's no fun if you can't enjoy
and that's
parts of the ride, even if it doesn't get where you want it to go ultimately.
That's what's going to happen next year. I mean, they're going to have some good moments and bad moments, and everything's going to be compared to the playoffs. But I mean, if you can't enjoy it, that you're right. Like you said, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like we're gonna get to a Thanksgiving and it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be festive, whatever. Hopefully we're back to normalcy. Not wearing masks and full press box and all that kind of stuff. But you're not gonna sit there and be like, well, this doesn't matter. Good win, but it doesn't matter. Once I start. I wouldn't be here this long if
it gets to that. Then I'm ready to retire. I'm gonna go do something else.
We wouldn't do it for this long. So it sucks, but I mean, when the draft show starts,
I've gotten so many.
I'm ready. I mean,
I got so many emails.
Guard centers.
From last night
Let's go.
to this morning of people complaining about how many years since the what is it 80 for years and years, and we're in 2022 now.
Mm-hmm.
And they're still writing emails. They're still in it. I'm like, damn.
Do y'all want the speech? Okay. I mean, I do it every year. I'll do it again. Being a fan, you don't choose it. It chooses you. It chooses you. They're like, I don't want to be Cowboys. I'm done. BFS. You will be there again. All right. I'll just say I'll go with the bull, and that's it. BFS. You will be here again because the Cowboy fandom, it chooses you. Cowboys Nation, you don't want to do it. It pisses you off. You're done. You're going to throw it away. You'll be dusting it off in a little bit. And that's who you are, and embrace it. It sucks right now. But, man, the real ones, they've been through worse than this.
Yeah. It's true. It's so true.
I hate when someone says, I've been a fan since 1974 whatever, and I'm done. I'm like, bull. 1989, where were you? You were here. You could have dusted this thing off a long time ago.
If you've been a fan since 1974, yeah, like the 80s were way worse than anything we're dealing with.
Right. So, it sucks, and you have a right to. You have a right to be pissed off.
You should be.
But stay with us, because we're gonna do it again.
Yeah.
We're gonna get on the horse and we're gonna do it again, and that's what we do.
We're gonna find some damn offensive linemen.
We're gonna find some linemen.
Don't you worry
That's your
about
job, Dave. Go find us some offensive linemen. You brought us to Kavanaugh and Kyle. All right, we appreciate you guys joining us. We'll be back tomorrow. Till then, for Nick Even, Dave Helm, and Amber Garcia, I am Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!